Welcome to this explainer. Right now, we are staring down the single biggest bottleneck in all of artificial intelligence. And spoiler alert, it's not a lack of computing power, and it's definitely not the training data. The true bottleneck we face today is, well, it's us. Or rather, it's the interface between our human intent and the machine's capability. We have these incredibly powerful systems right at our fingertips, literally capable of synthesizing centuries of human knowledge in seconds. But if we don't know how to properly ask for that knowledge, we get absolutely nowhere. So today, we're talking about mastering how we actually communicate with these systems and bridging that massive gap between what we want in our heads and what the AI can actually deliver.
So let's dive right into it. You ask a powerful AI a question, and sometimes, absolute genius. You get a perfectly articulated, insightful response that just saves you hours of work. But other times, you get this generic, completely off-base garbage. You might ask it to write flawless Python code and get an absolute masterpiece, but then you ask for a decent dinner recipe and get this bizarre combination of ingredients no human would ever actually eat. So, why does this happen? I mean, the model didn't suddenly lose its intelligence between questions, right? The underlying billions of parameters are exactly the same. What happened is a breakdown in translation.
And this slide hits the nail on the head. If you type a lazy, vague prompt like, "Tell me about dogs," you're going to get a C- generic encyclopedia entry that reads like a middle school book report. But look at the right side. If you provide a precise input like, "Write a 300-word comparison of golden retrievers versus huskies for apartment owners," boom! You suddenly get an A+ highly tailored expert response. The model itself didn't change, you just unlocked it. You gave it the precise coordinates to find the exact information you needed. And honestly, this makes prompt engineering the absolute fastest, cheapest way to drastically improve performance. So what exactly are we doing here? Well, let's formally define it. Prompt engineering is the art, and actually it's really the science, of designing, crafting, and refining the inputs you give to an AI model to extract the absolute best possible outputs. Think about it this way. Physically fine-tuning a foundational AI model to learn a new task can cost millions of dollars. It's like teaching a student a brand new subject over an entire grueling semester. Prompt engineering, on the other hand, is like handing that exact same student the perfect set of detailed, highlighted notes right before they walk into their exam. You're giving them exactly what they need to succeed in that specific moment for free.
To really master this, we have to look under the hood. Large language models, they're next token prediction machines. When you type a prompt, the model isn't actually thinking, planning, or reasoning in the human sense. It isn't sitting there pondering the deep philosophy of your question. Instead, it's doing incredibly advanced statistical pattern matching. It looks at the sequence of words you provided and calculates, based on trillions of parameters, what the most mathematically likely next word should be. So that means you have to deliberately structure your input to guide those statistical patterns toward the outcome you want, rather than just letting the machine drift aimlessly. And that brings us to principle 1. Be specific and explicit. Since we're dealing with a next token engine, you've got to be incredibly clear, because the AI absolutely cannot read your mind. It can only work with exactly what you type in that box. If you give it vague instructions, its statistical engine is just going to default to the mathematical average of its training data. And let's be honest, the mathematical average of the entire internet is usually pretty boring, unhelpful, and generic. If you want extraordinary results, you have to provide extraordinary specificity. You have to map out the destination so it knows exactly which path to walk down. Because the AI can't read your mind, you have to literally build the world around it by providing context. It's kind of like setting a stage for an actor. You wouldn't just shove an actor into the spotlight and yell "act," right? You'd tell them the setting, their motivation, who they're talking to. It grounds the AI. Who is the target audience for this output? Are we talking to a boardroom of executives or a kindergarten class? What's the tone? Are there strict constraints on length? The more relevant context you provide, the more accurately the model can tailor those next token predictions to fit your highly specific scenario.
Now here's a massive hack that builds perfectly on that idea of context: role-playing. When you assign a persona, say telling the AI, "You are a cybersecurity analyst with 20 years of experience defending Fortune 500 companies," you literally activate a completely different set of statistical parameters. Since the AI's training data contains millions of documents written by actual experts in that field, this prompt biases the model toward utilizing much more technical, cautious, and authoritative language. You're basically telling it which specific high-level area of its vast brain to use, instantly elevating your output from a casual internet summary to a specialized professional consultation.
What if you need a super specific format or categorization? That's where few-shot prompting is an absolute game changer. Instead of just describing what you want, you actually show the AI exactly what success looks like by giving it 1 to 10 specific examples directly in your prompt. If you want the AI to classify customer reviews as positive, neutral, or negative, just showing it 3 examples of correctly labeled reviews dramatically improves its accuracy. The model immediately picks up on the pattern of those few shots. Honestly, this is the ultimate secret to getting AI to output data that you can paste directly into a spreadsheet without breaking all your formatting.
Okay, moving on to complex logic or math. This is where we use a technique called chain of thought prompting. If you just ask an AI for a final answer on a really hard problem, you're going to see bizarre leaps in logic. But by forcing the AI to show its work, just like a high school math student taking a calculus test, it radically reduces those errors. By simply appending a phrase like, "let's think step by step," the model is forced to generate intermediate reasoning. It calculates part 1, which then gives it the correct context to calculate part 2, directly leading it to a highly accurate final answer.
On a similar note, please don't overwhelm the AI with one massive task. Break it down using prompt chaining. Let's say you're building a comprehensive business plan. Don't ask for the entire 50-page document all at once. That's just going to result in shallow, rushed outputs. Instead, first prompt for the market analysis. Refine that until it's perfect. Then take that output and feed it into a new prompt specifically for financial projections. Finally, feed those projections into the marketing strategy. Chaining prompts ensures each specific section gets the full undivided attention and token budget it really deserves. To really hit that power user level in modern chat tools, you absolutely have to understand the difference between the user prompt and the system prompt. The user prompt is just the specific, localized query you're asking right now. But the system prompt, that's the high-leverage space where you set the AI's permanent boundaries. It's the overarching set of rules. Think of the system prompt as the foundational laws of physics for that specific chat window. It dictates the global behavior, the underlying personality, and the strict constraints that will govern every single user prompt that comes after it.
And inside those prompts, you've got to use negative prompting. Here's kind of a funny but frustrating fact. AI is desperate to please you. It wants to give you an answer so badly that it will literally lie to you, hallucinate facts, rather than just admit it doesn't know. Telling the model exactly what not to do is how you build guardrails against that. Giving explicit commands like "do not use technical jargon" or "do not make up statistics" is a highly effective way to constrain its output and keep the model strictly anchored to reality.
All right, before you start testing this stuff out, let's look at some rookie mistakes to avoid. First off, don't overload a single prompt and confuse the model. Second, never assume the AI knows unstated context about your project. Third, and seriously, this is a big one, stop wasting precious memory tokens by being overly polite. The AI doesn't have feelings. Saying, "Hey, if you don't mind, could you please," just dilutes your instructions. Be direct. And finally, treat your prompts like you're debugging code. Your first prompt is almost never your best. You have to test, analyze, and iterate.
I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on. As these AI models get vastly more advanced, gaining multi-step reasoning, autonomous agents, the whole shebang, will the art of prompt engineering just fade away into obsolescence? Or, as the underlying complexity of these models skyrockets, is prompt engineering actually evolving into the most critical, highly demanded engineering discipline of our future? As the gap between a basic prompt and an expertly engineered one continues to widen, it's definitely something worth thinking about.